Hello, my name is Salazik Spratland. I'm a graduate student at Georgia Southern University, and I'd like to present to you today my interview project from my EDLD 7430 class. I had the distinct pleasure in interviewing Lewis Scott, the Director of Financial Aid at Georgia State. I interviewed him in his office in Sparks Hall on February the 4th, 2014. Mr. Scott received his BS in political science at Georgia State in 1994. Shortly after obtaining his political science degree, he began working in the financial aid department as a customer service representative, where he provided basic customer service to students and parents for approximately a year and a half. Shortly after that, he rose up in the rankings and became a general financial aid counselor, where he was in charge of the study abroad program, advising students that they were studying abroad about financial aid issues. He worked in this position for another year and a half. Next up for Mr. Scott, Senior Financial Aid Counselor, where he managed the student loan programs for 4 years. Mr. Scott was then promoted to Assistant Director of Financial Aid. For 6 years, he held this position where he oversaw all customer service, 10 staff members, compliance, the Hope Scholarship Program, student loan program, as well as being in charge of the satisfactory academic progress aspect of the entire office. After a 6 year stint as the assistant director, he became the associate director, where he oversaw the entire operations of the office, which included records and verification, Pell Grants, the Hope Program, loans, Title IV, scholarship, the College Work Study Program, the Study Abroad Program, as well as supervising 3 additional assistant directors. 4 years into being tapped as the associate director, he was asked to step into the role of director on an interim basis. Mr. Scott shared with me that as he stepped into that role on an interim basis, that he really had no real thought of being the permanent director. After 2 failed searches, though, to replace that director position, Mr. Scott was persuaded by one of his political science mentors to apply for the position of director. In 2008, Mr. Scott was officially named the Director of Financial Aid, where he currently oversees all facets of the department: the compliance, audit, from strategic management to outreach, enrollment, retention and recruitment, from communication to scholarships, and all federal and student aid programs. I asked him, how does he feel about student affairs? And he said with a big grin that student affairs is a great place to be. He also shared with me that the daily student interaction aspect of his job is terrific, and that being able to assist and help students achieve their goals in getting their degrees is awesome. The Georgia State University Department of Financial Aid mission is to make sure that students are awarded and have the financial resources to attain their higher education, to provide outstanding customer service, be sensitive to the students' needs, and to make sure that staff understands that students are the clients and they really do come first. The organizational structure of the department is that Mr. Scott is the director and he oversees all aspects of the department. There's also an associate director that provides management to the assistant directors. And then there's a host of department counselors, advisors, and customer service staff. When asked what types of changes has he seen over the last few years, he shared with me that the makeup of the student body at Georgia State has changed. The population is quite more diverse than it has been. He also shared with me that in 1994, when he came on staff, there were about 20 staff members. Now that number is at 32, and the number is to increase by the end of the year to 34. He also shared with me, as far as department changes, that the Pale population has increased. 56% of undergraduate students are on Pell at Georgia State. 91% of the first time freshmen are on financial aid. To me, those numbers are simply astounding. The current area budget status of the department is financially sound, according to Mr. Scott. He also shared that the department has been able to increase staff size in spite of the downturn of the economic climate. He did share with me, though, that one of the budgetary challenges is that the staff at GSU has not received raises in over 4 years. However, he's continued to maintain his staff intact for the most part, and he continues to see their jobs increase and continues to see their hard work. Areas of responsibility. Mr. Scott and his staff oversees things from FAFSA to the Scholarship Resource Center, to financial aid, loan programs, to the HOPE program, Title IV program, to refunds, to the stipends, to veteran affairs, educational benefits, and the list goes on and on. As far as department needs, he shared with me that his staff is continuing to grow, like I stated earlier, and that due to this growth, there is a need for additional office space. There is also a need to create more need-based funding. And lastly, there is a need for more intensified focus on student counseling as it relates to paying for tuition. As far as accomplishments, there's a lot of success that goes along with the department. He's extremely proud of the no audit findings. The loan default rate is down. There's an increased financial literacy due to his staff. Staff development, conducting training with external departments, educating them on financial aid process is another accomplishment he touts. And lastly, financial aid has a direct impact on the increased graduation and retention rates there at Georgia State University. As far as aspirations and where he would like to see himself move in the near future, ultimately, Mr. Scott shared with me that he would like to be an assistant or associate vice president of enrollment management. He shared with me quite candidly that if that could happen at Georgia State University, that would be great. But he's not opposed to looking at other institutions of higher education to achieve his goals. As far as the future at Georgia State University in regards to the Department of Financial Aid are extremely bright. He's looking to create a new financial counseling center, and this is a collaboration with the Advisement Center as well as students' accounts. He's also looking to restructure the entire department, and he's also looking to hire additional associate directors and a financial compliance manager. When I spoke to him about the current issues facing higher education, and in particular financial aid, he shared with me that the constant regulations of financial aid, student loans, and the programs constantly change. And that was an area of contention. He also shared with me that the FAFSA process is more complicated and needs to be simplified. He shared with me that the financial aid in general is very much overregulated and needs to be deregulated so that staff people who are working in the schools can do a better job of providing access to the financial aid to its students. He also shared with me that the staff pay in his department is somewhat non existent. My final thoughts. My initial reaction to what I heard during my interview, I was simply floored and it was like a wow moment. I was thoroughly impressed that this department does a lot more than just simply funneling financial aid and Pell Grants to students. Sure, they oversee the financial aid and Pell Grant process. That's one thing. But when you add on student stipends, the scholarship process, the counseling process, working with veteran educational benefits, the study abroad, and the list goes on, it can be mind boggling. And I had no idea that this department did all of that. Would I like to work for Mr. Scott? Absolutely. I work with Director Scott on a weekly basis. He's a consummate professional, a man of character, and he practices what he preaches and often goes above and beyond. I think he would be a great mentor, a great teacher, and a great supervisor. And as I began to do more research and as I began to compile this presentation, I thought to myself that possibly because of this, that I might quite honestly want to shift my focus and maybe move into the area of financial aid and possibly work with him and his staff. My overall assessment of this interview experience was very enjoyable. It actually helped me in my workings with the department because I now have a better understanding of what they do and what goes on behind the scenes. The experience in itself also has me thinking about that possibility of making a move and making a shift in my career choices to possibly working in financial aid. And to me, that's quite impressive. Thank you.